Welcome to Our College, Your Voices. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. At the end of the spring semester, we asked for faculty members to serve on a task force to write the college's first academic freedom statement. For those of you that have started to read the Higher Learning Commission's draft report to us, you will notice that they also affirmed this work and that we should continue on this path. Today, we have 4 of the faculty members who volunteered and are serving on that committee, doing some really good work with us. And we're recording this on June 18th. We actually just came from our first face-to-face meeting. And so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that work and what we're doing. So to start off, I have Dr. Emily Bobo. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Kara.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Dr. Emily Bobo, Department Chair of Fine Arts and Humanities at Bloomington campus. And I'm also current interim chair of the statewide faculty council.
And next is Vesna Tanaskowski.
Hi, my name is Vesna Tanaskowski, and I'm the department chair for English and Communication at the Ivy Tech Michigan City campus.
Welcome, Vesna. And Anthony Sams. Hi, Anthony.
I'm Anthony Sams. I'm the chair of the English department at the Sellersburg campus.
And Josh Farrington. Hi, Josh.
Hello. I'm Josh Farrington. I'm assistant professor of philosophy at Ivy Tech Bloomington.
Well, thanks to all of you for, I'll just confess, this was a little last minute request. We had a hole open up in the schedule for the podcast, and it was perfect because you all were going to be here. So thank you to the 4 of you for joining in to share with us. So we asked faculty to apply to serve on the Academic Freedom Taskforce, and I'd love to hear from each of you why you chose to apply for that task force.
I think it's important that we have academic freedom for faculty rights so that they can make sure that they're able to construct a curriculum that is best for their strong points, creativity, in order to create a very conducive learning environment for students.
I applied for the committee because of my work on the faculty council, and I wanted to make sure that we had a statement on academic freedom that would help to encourage faculty to engage in Ivy Tech, to really invest themselves again in our vision and our mission, and to feel like they were fully protected to do so.
I don't think there's ever a shortage of work to do. And volunteering for work sometimes is a strange thing around here. But it's my own drive to make Ivy Tech the best place to teach. And whenever there's the opportunity to join a group that has a very faculty-oriented goal, the outcome will be beneficial to the faculty. We'll be able to look back on that work and say that was a pivotal moment in the career of the faculty at Ivy Tech. Then I jump at those opportunities, and they don't often feel like work. They can be challenges, but they don't feel like work. And so I was excited to join this task force.
I'll just second everything everyone said here today. My motivations are a little more selfish. As an undergraduate student, I got my second chance at life at Ivy Tech, and then transferred down to IUPUI, where about 15 years ago I created, it's still there, believe it or not, Democracy Plaza. It's an outdoor venue for free speech for students, faculty, staff. I notice here in the campus commons they have a democracy wall, which I wonder where they got that idea at, which is cool. It's cool. And so I cared about that issue as an undergraduate student, and now as an assistant professor, I care about that issue very deeply for us as faculty members and our students.
Excellent. You all have started to allude to this, but we've not previously had a specific statement on academic freedom. Although, Anthony, I hope at some point today in the podcast we talk about some of the work you've done in identifying places where we do talk about academic freedom and some of our existing policies. But why do you believe that it's important that we develop a specific statement on academic freedom?
It seems to be the standard of practice throughout higher education, and we do so many things right here at Ivy Tech, and it just seems like this is one of the next things on our task list to do.
That's very true. I do think that every college needs to have a statement on academic freedom, so we really need to articulate one that'll best serve the faculty and the students at Ivy Tech.
I think it's good to have something that helps guides us from year to year and from program to program and campus to campus, something that helps unify us and helps to helps us to define ourselves and who we are and who we want to be.
There are lots of rights and privileges and opportunities that currently exist in policy when it comes to academics and when it comes to the faculty life. But it's the unity of an academic freedom statement, the single place that I can go to read and think that this is a philosophy that the college has adopted, not only on my behalf, but on behalf of the profession, the teaching profession, that the college believes in this principle. Even though the college has rights and policies already in place, they can be so fractured across all of the different policies and procedures that the creation of a single academic freedom statement is an opportunity for us to have a place that people can look to understand that this is a value that we have.
So as I mentioned, we're recording this episode just after our first meeting, which is, again, June 18th. It happened to work out well because you were all here today and we just had that meeting, so it's fresh on your minds. I'd love for you to give, we didn't have a committee with every faculty member in the college on it because that's impossible and unwieldy, but help your colleagues across the college understand the approach we're taking and sort of what we've learned thus far.
I can speak to the approach that I think we had 1 to 2 faculty representatives from each campus who volunteered for this role and to be on this committee. So we have representation from across the state, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I did like how we did split up different topics that were important, and each person on the task force was asked to go ahead and look at a specific topic and then bring that information to the group today. So I think we had a lot of good discussions on different aspects of academic freedom, and we covered things that are pretty important that are going on at Ivy Tech right now, such as academic freedom and open educational resources for classes, online and standardized courses, and what that means as far as academic freedom is concerned, course material selection. We also looked at legal issues with academic freedom, challenges. We looked at some academic freedom statements from different universities. So we really covered a lot of material, I think, and a lot of that was thanks to the committee members who put a lot of hard work and research into it and then bringing it to the discussion today so we could go ahead and have a very comprehensive view of what academic freedom is.
And I think in addition to the discussion on academic freedom, there have been some productive conversations with the team about the responsibilities that go with that, discussions about shared academic governance and the responsibility we as faculty members have to the college and the community as well, and the responsibilities we may feel maybe our institution also has to the faculty members.
What I would want faculty to know is that this is a faculty-led effort, and that we have our provost working with us and ensuring that this is a project that we're going to be able to take from A to Z. But the work that has been done so far has reviewed faculty feedback on the topic of academic freedom. We have faculty who volunteered for this task force. We have faculty who are driving the conversation, who are picking what I think are really challenging topics and challenging contemporary issues in higher education on the topic of academic freedom. And the faculty are ensuring that those conversations are occurring. The work that the faculty have been doing with this task force has been reflective of what the faculty back at our campuses are talking about, what they're asking about. And it would be my hope that by the end of this process, a lot of the questions that are still out there can maybe have some sort of answer provided. And a lot of the questions that exist around what are my academic freedom rights and my responsibilities, we can begin to clearly define those for our faculty so they can feel a little more comfortable doing the work that they're doing, which is great work.
What are some of the key things that you've learned as you've been a part of the task force and the conversation today?
Well, I can say that After hearing the conversation today and meeting some of my colleagues from across the state, we have a lot of very accomplished and experienced professors at Ivy Tech. And one thing that's really given me a lot of hope is that when their voices unite, we can accomplish a lot. We could be a very great and driving force in the college. So that's something that's really kind of been a benefit to me, being on the statewide faculty council and also on the Academic Freedom Taskforce.
I don't know if it was an aha moment, but it was a warm, fuzzy feeling moment that I had when at the end of the meeting. So I'd had some anxieties before the meeting because in my presentation, I had mentioned the T word, and it's academic freedom and tenure. And that's a word that a lot of faculty across the nation are afraid to talk about. It's a tough conversation. The way that teachers are being treated across the nation from K through 12 and at higher ed institutions, the way that education is being devalued in our nation right now. And yet it's so essential to the idea of academic freedom, to the idea of empowering teachers and empowering students and leading education. And so I had been so anxious about mentioning it. And then, of course, 3 or 4 other people mentioned the T word in their presentations. And it was a really good conversation that we had about how does tenure work at other institutions? How does it work at other community colleges? How can it work here? Why is it necessary? Is it necessary? But just seeing the other faculty in the room be brave enough to say it out loud, to participate and invest in a vision of who we could be and what we want to be, and how much we believe in Ivy Tech and how much we believe in each other and in our students, and to be able to trust each other with these kinds of tough conversations. And that was my warm, fuzzy moment today. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to have these conversations with the awesome people at Ivy Tech.
I guess my aha moment was the wealth of collective wisdom in the room, and being honored and privileged to be around some very accomplished faculty members. It's humbling. I fashion myself an avid reader, and I will confess in my spare time I like to read over the ASOM policy because I'm kind of a dork like that. And I thought there was absolutely nothing in that spoke to academic freedom, as one of our colleagues pointed out earlier. There's some guiding ideas there that we might be able to draw from and not necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. I'm excited about that.
Hiding in the sexual misconduct policy.
Yes.
9.2.
Of all places,
ASOM
right?
9.2.
Yes, it is. Because I think really at the end of the day, there are some meetings that you go to and you wonder, where is this going to go? And there are other meetings that you go to and you wish the meeting had been 2 or 3 hours longer, because you don't want to leave the energy in the room, or you don't want to leave the company of extremely thoughtful and diligent people. And I think there were so many opportunities to have these conversations today, and I wish that we could have kept having those conversations. So it's that moment when you end up in a room full of other volunteers who are just as passionate as you are about the topic in front of you, and they have many of those same passions and anxieties, but they understand that having the conversations and making the arguments and reflecting on the next steps and doing the hard work is all in the interest of the institution. And it's that desire. You would think that an Academic Freedom Taskforce might be a group of people who are only focused on the classroom. But an aha moment to me today was the fact that so many people in that room are focused on the idea of academic freedom as a way that it improves the institution, it improves our state, it improves our students, it improves the work environment for a faculty member. And the through line there is that we all believe the work that a faculty member does resonates in the students in that classroom. And then those students go out into the workforce, or they transfer and they take that Ivy Tech experience with them. And so what I saw today were so many faculty members who are passionate about helping that work continue and letting that work become better. And it wasn't an aha moment exactly, because I think deep down I knew that, but it's always reassuring to see that in action in front of you.
And feel that you're together, that you're not alone and isolated.
And it's always good to leave a meeting feeling good about the discussion and what happened, instead of just kind of leaving disillusioned because there's so many problems we can't fix. So this was something that was hopeful in that way.
We also talked a lot about some of the concerns and challenges. Emily, you referenced the T word. We don't have tenure here. It's not a part of the charge for this group, but it doesn't mean it's not something the group can recommend some steps on in terms of contracts. But what other challenges or concerns, or what challenges or concerns do you think that we'll face as the college finishes developing its statement and putting it out to the college community as a whole?
Well, I think that Anthony actually outlined this pretty well during the meeting, as far as it's one thing to discuss and draft a statement, and then follow through is another. So there will be a learning curve. It is a learning process. I'm sure we might encounter some problems along the way or afterwards that we need to kind of figure out how to address. But I definitely think that we're taking steps in the right direction. So I could see maybe some struggles ahead, but we have to kind of take them on a case-by-case basis and figure them out.
I think we have some definite challenges ahead of us because any sort of change brings challenge. But challenge isn't something that I think should excuse the inaction on a topic. And so I think there are challenges ahead of understandably skeptical faculty who may be wondering, why now? Why this? Is this work going to amount to anything? I feel like I've been left out of the process, and so I am going to immediately assume the worst until I see better. And that's always a challenge that any level of change has to grapple with. You can't have a statement of a principle of academic freedom that you endorse without processes in place to adjudicate issues as they arise. And so the development of that process, and this is where I would say tenure is just a component of that process, right? Academic due process, the ability of students and faculty to be able to engage in dialogue in the classroom, and when conflict arises, how is that conflict resolved? There are so many components that go into that, and in that regard, change is a challenge, and the growth that comes with that is incredibly important. And so the dialogue, the communication, the reflection component that the faculty are going to have to work with, the fact that there was something in policy, but it's fractured. Now it's centralized. Now more people know about it. There's going to be more of an educational component to that. All of those are challenges that I personally am excited to address. But they're going to be challenges nevertheless.
I think that a challenge that we'll face is also, we're used to thinking about academic freedom at Ivy Tech in terms of our students and the academic freedom that they're guaranteed, but we haven't been used to thinking about academic freedom in terms of faculty outside of the classroom. So we think about it mostly in terms of subject matter and course delivery and those sorts of things, but there's also faculty in terms of policy, faculty in terms of being in the meetings and having shared governance, having a voice at the table. And so I think that might be a challenge for us moving forward, how we handle that with wisdom and grace, and with, again, the engagement piece. Faculty morale is low. It's hard to get some people to believe that our voices are being heard. We are being asked to sit at the table, come back, please engage. So part of academic freedom is, yes, it's the rights that faculty would be guaranteed, but it's also a responsibility for the faculty to engage, to invest, to work together to try to make Ivy Tech a better place to work so that we can retain talented faculty, so that we can recruit talented faculty, so that we can provide the security for faculty to teach courses from their strong points, to be creative and innovative, but also to help work to draft policies that will create the best educational experience for our students at Ivy Tech.
And academic freedom is a cornerstone of higher education. And what we have here is a building that has existed for a long time without a formal cornerstone, delineating these are the academic freedom rights. There have been many faculty members that this has never become an issue for them because they have the freedom to work in the classroom and the departmental or the campus administrative support to innovate and to flourish and to grow. And innovation is a value that Ivy Tech has. And there are also a large number of faculty, I'm thinking here specifically of our adjunct faculty, who come into the institution and they are perhaps one step removed from a lot of the weeds that a group like this is really getting into and trying to suss out where all the pieces are. And their situation as part-time faculty is already tenuous in a lot of ways, but the academic freedom component I would hope would reach them too. And so there are certainly logistical challenges with educating and extending the principle and philosophy of academic freedom to all the faculty at this institution. Our adjunct faculty are absolutely essential to the day-to-day operations of this college. The credits that students earn in classes taught by part-time faculty, many of whom the students don't even know that they're part-time faculty because everything about the class is exactly the college experience. But ensuring that those principles are extended to all the faculty at the college is a challenge, but also an incredibly exciting opportunity for the next steps.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I think the challenge, and I think it's going to be an insanely cool challenge, we'll get the opportunity to meet as a group in the coming month, is codifying all the great ideas that this group is going to throw out there and drafting the statement. So I'm insanely excited about that.
So what are the next steps for the task force?
Well, our next step is to craft an academic freedom statement. So that's our next item on the agenda. We are going to go ahead and take a look at some statements from other colleges and then also get down what we feel the vision of Ivy Tech Community College is and try to merge the two into something that'll work for us here, for the faculty at Ivy Tech Community College. So seeing what the group comes up with as far as an academic freedom statement is something that's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
I think going back to our home campuses and having conversations and spreading information with our colleagues is going to be very important, and for them to feel included in the process, which I think is essential.
If someone is just hearing about this work, is there a way that they can still be involved? You talked a little bit about that, Joshua, in sort of circulating information, but what else? Are there any other ways they can be involved?
They could reach out to their campus representative. Each campus does have a member on the Academic Freedom Taskforce, so we are part of the committee, and part of our task is to share the information with our campus. So anyone who's interested or has suggestions about academic freedom can go ahead and talk to their campus representative.
They can also contact their Faculty Advisory Council representative. We have a number of reps who are on the Academic Freedom Task Force, so the information can funnel up that way as well.
I think an important way that people can get involved in the work that this task force is doing, that doesn't necessarily involve reaching out to somebody is beginning conversations at the curricular level, inside the Ivy Tech curriculum committees about the principles of academic freedom, the work that can be done at a department level or at the level of a school at a particular campus, work that can be done with campus administration as well. One of the things that surprised me when this process first started, and maybe it shouldn't have, but outside the faculty or those who work directly with academic affairs, the concept of academic freedom is perhaps not well understood. And there are many people who think academic freedom equals a professor can do whatever she wants with no consequences whatsoever. And that's so far removed from the truth. So the fact that the phrase academic freedom in many circles, this is the first time it's being genuinely talked about, necessitates dialogue happening at the campus level so that the phrase becomes normalized into part of our Ivy Tech vernacular. And there are going to be many people at differing levels of the college who will need some sort of primer on what is academic freedom and where do we go from here. And so the more that faculty can talk about that and understand the component of academic freedom that also includes faculty responsibilities about the curating of content in the classroom and the importance of ensuring that topics discussed in the classroom are relevant to the course objectives and relevant to the study that the students are doing, and the process of not being controversial for the sake of controversy. All of the things that can be done to normalize and to bring academic freedom into the Ivy Tech mainstream is helping this committee immeasurably, because a group of 25 or 30 people can help craft a statement. But the process of changing the culture around academic freedom is going to have to happen in offices and hallways and classrooms at the campus level. And so not to be afraid to talk about academic freedom, because it's something that the college is talking about and taking very seriously.
So, Anthony, building off some of the statements you made, I'd love for you guys to help start the conversations that you're encouraging in hallways and offices and lunch tables. From what you've seen so far, what is academic freedom and what is academic freedom not?
I guess I'd just say there are some websites that closely track this issue of academic freedom. You know, we are student-centered here, and I'm really proud of Ivy Tech being as student-centered as we are. And you'll hear some of the stories at other institutions of very bad experiences students have, feeling indoctrinated by their instructors, being forced to capitulate to the point of view for the grade. And, as an adjunct and now as a full-time assistant professor, I've taught in the northern part of the Ivy Tech region, the central part, and now the southern part. I've never once heard those stories here, so I'm proud of my Ivy Tech in that respect.
I think a lot of people kind of have the idea that academic freedom, and by people I mean faculty, assume it has to do with what kind of assignments I can have, how many tests do I need to give. And while, yes, that's part of it, there's also the larger issue of being able to talk and have important discussions about society, perhaps even politics in class. The college classroom can be a suitable place to go ahead and broach some difficult topics and maybe controversial issues. Not so much in the aspect of, well, this is the right viewpoint, but let's go ahead and have this discussion because it's important. It's important to society, and we need to go ahead and think about this and consider different perspectives. And how do you feel about it? Come to some sort of conclusion, maybe question some beliefs, consider others, and just foster that critical thinking in that type of way.
So I think academic freedom as a concept generally refers to the freedom that a faculty member has to instruct in the classroom in a way that allows the faculty member to operate at the highest capacity or the highest ability of that faculty member. On the one hand, it's the freedom in the classroom of the faculty member to take the lead in designing the curriculum that she or he is presenting to the students. But it's also the freedom to bring into that curriculum controversial elements that may be difficult conversations to have, but the process of having that conversation allows students in the classroom to understand concepts in new ways or to anticipate, as we all know, conversations that will occur later in their lives, in their friendships, in their family, in their workplace. And having been exposed to a multitude of viewpoints at the college level is a key experience for many people about understanding who they are and what they think and how they feel and what positions they're going to take, and then how to handle those individuals when they come across those people. So it's not just the freedom of a sociology professor to talk about controversial material, but it's also the freedom of a professor to design assignments that fit that person's style of teaching, or the freedom to incorporate a reading that might be challenging or to set off a very interesting discussion in the classroom. It's also the idea that the faculty play a role in the development of academic policies at the institution that affect them. Academic freedom and shared governance go together, and it is the idea that faculty, when we strive to protect a faculty member's ability to conduct his or her classroom the way he or she wishes, within reason and with responsibility, and so that it is applicable to the area of content, it's also the responsibility of the institution to provide the framework to handle issues as they arise, and the responsibility of the institution to protect the faculty member in those situations. It's a rather nasty paradox if we say we encourage you to bring issues into the classroom that challenge conventional thinking and push your students to do well and hold high academic standards, yet there will be no safety net beneath you for when that experience starts to turn sour. So it's the collective responsibility of everybody in an institution to ensure that the academic life is preserved, maintained, and respected.
And also, I think part of academic freedom is, faculty can address such issues, but they do so in a constructive and educational way. It's not kind of like a free-for-all where this is the right way to think, obviously. And I do think it's important to broach such topics as long as it pertains to the course content curriculum. It's important for us to form global citizens, I think.
So much has already been said. I don't want to belabor points, but I do want to stress that academic freedom is also about shared governance and protecting faculty not only in the classroom when they're having difficult conversations and leading students and educating them on how to participate in difficult conversations, but also feeling protected and secure enough to raise difficult issues with their supervisors in meetings and with those who form the policies that govern academics at Ivy Tech. Having a shared voice at the table on hiring committees, having faculty representation when we hire new people and we come up with new visions for the college, making sure that faculty are part of that, making sure that faculty have a voice at the table, if not a vote at the table, but it's shared governance and the protection for faculty so that if they raise difficult but important perspectives that they don't fear for their jobs.
Well, I want to thank all of you for being on the episode today. Emily, I think it was you that said that this is a little anxiety producing to have conversations about this. But, I think back to our values at Ivy Tech, two of them that I think this directly hits on is the idea of being trustworthy and transparency and being transparent. And then the idea of being inclusive, that this is a way we advance to those two shared values and we start to really build a culture based on those values. So I really appreciate you because we don't shy away from tough topics here and we try not to. So I appreciate you for doing that. Every episode ends with a call to action. So we're asking you to please reach out and engage in those conversations. These four wonderful people have given you some great ideas on how to do that. And you have a representative on every single campus who is a member of the committee. You also have a faculty council member on every campus. And for those of you who aren't sure who those folks are, you can reach out to any one of us or to me, and we will be happy to help connect you with that person. Thank you again for joining this episode of Our College, Your Voices. Again, I want to thank the members of today's panel, Dr. Emily Bobo, Vesna Taniskowski, Anthony Sams, and Josh Farrington. Thank you to each one of you. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. You can connect with me on Twitter at KNM Tweets. Our producer is Ann Penny Valentine. Ann is on Twitter at Indy Penny. You can always reach us by email at ourcollegeyourvoices@ivytech.edu. Don't forget, you can also leave us a voice message at 317-572-5049. Again, that number is 317-572-5049. Our website is ivytech.edu/podcast. Production assistance for this and every episode is provided by Becky Campbell, Sarah DeWitt, and the Ivy Tech Community College marketing team. And our podcast concept is by Matthew Pittman. Theme music, recording, and post-production services, as always, provided by the incredible Jen Eads at the Brassie Broadcasting Company. And we will see you next time on Our College, Your Voices.